Boom, we're live. What's up, guys? After a short webcam lag delay on Dan Smith's part, we are here. We are live in the live stream. Welcome to the Poker Life podcast. My name is Joey, one, aka Chicago Joey, joined this week, this day, by a tournament player. I know people out there, we talk about tournament players sometimes that we don't necessarily love tournament players, but we love this guy.
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I didn't know what I was walking into.
You didn't know what you're walking into?
Well, I didn't know, boom, tournament player, let's get him, right off the bat.
No, we like PLO players, one. We like tournament players, two. Okay. But you're an exception. You're, according to something I just saw right now, according to a GPI. I'm not super familiar what that is. You're the top person in the GPI. We love you, man. You've got high recommendations from the Fort. Obviously, good friend of the podcast. So yeah,
all
man,
right,
how are you doing, Dan? Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for taking the time out. I've been wanting to get more no limit players because I have a lot of PLO guys on here. I've been wanting to get some more tournament players on, some no limit cash game guys on. Obviously, I sent you a message about 3 weeks ago when I started thinking about that. You're like, yeah, give me a couple weeks, and now we're here, and now we're at it, man. So I'm really happy to have you on. We're going to talk about. Actually, let's explain who you are first for people that don't know, because a lot of the listeners that watch us, a lot of viewers are mainly PLO players. So you've been playing tournaments online and live for how long would you say now?
Maybe close to 10 years now.
Close to 10 years?
Maybe 8 or 9. It depends. I was playing my freshman year of high school.
How old are you right now?
I'm 25.
25. Let me do some quick math in my head. Wait, where were you playing? What do you mean playing? Were they playing on the internet? That was pretty common back then, right?
I was playing on the internet, and then I'd play in $5 or $10 home games with my friends. And actually, there's a period of time a little bit after that. I used to be a chess player, but at the chess tournaments there'd be sick cash games, so I would win enough at the poker games to buy into the chess tournament.
So you were like a chess game hustler kind of thing. You were hustling the chess kids or what?
I wouldn't say hustling. They had a game, and I was just taking a seat.
Just taking a seat, huh, dude? Well, I've never played before. I'll take a seat. I'll sit down.
I mean, everyone was sure they were winning in the game. They were we were all terrible.
That's a normal poker game now. It's going to be very rare you find a game where someone thinks they're a bad player. That's why people make so much money at poker, is because no one really thinks they're bad at poker. Everyone thinks they're good. Everyone thinks they got an edge. Especially
poker really is a great game.
It's a wonderful game. Okay, so we got this. 10 years you've been playing tournaments, and you kind of now, I'd say the last couple years, you've had some really good results in these high rollers. It appears these really really large buy-in tournaments, and you've had some great results. Is that right?
Yeah. Starting the second half of 2011, I really started to go on a nice heater, and it hasn't stopped yet.
Well, that might mean you're good, kid. According to the GPI, I don't know is the GPI something we can take. Do we talk about the GPI? Is this something that's
Sure. I mean, anything that has me ranked number 1, I'm happy to talk about.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure if the GPI is something tournament players look at as doesn't mean much, or if it's something that people take with a sense of pride if they're ranked number 1 and that type of thing.
I take some pride in it. It's a metric, and I think it's the best way to rank tournament players at the moment. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, there are plenty of guys who are great no limit players who just very infrequently play tournaments. Ike Haxton, he just doesn't play that many. So obviously his ranking just can't be as high. But I know at least some of the guys take a lot of pride in it, and they battle for it. There's a period of time I was very much into the Player of the Year races, or I wanted to be number 1 on GPI, but at this point I'm not super concerned about it.
That makes sense. All right, guys. Well, we are doing this live. If for some reason I decide to ever upload these to iTunes again, we do all these things live stream. We usually like to have video. Dan, you know what? I talked to Dan a couple hours ago. He said he didn't own a tank top. We know how we love tank tops on here for all the guests. And somehow he found a blue tank top, man. I appreciate it, Dan.
An EDC tank top.
An EDC? Well, I know your main profile picture on Facebook. I remember I was chatting with you before EDC as well, and now your main Facebook profile is someone on a shoulder. It's you on the shoulders of somebody, right?
Tony Dunst.
Were you raging pretty hard there, or what? You're not a big rager, are you?
Um, I
Ooh.
go through periods where I rage quite hard, and then I go through periods where I'm like about work. After W Coop, I'm going to Austin for 5 weeks, and I'll be looking to party.
Ooh. I mean, there'll be people watching this that might, let's not get into too much of the raging thing. I love raging as well. I'm currently like in a hiatus. I went on a world rage tour for quite a while, so I'm semi-familiar with the rage scene. And let's put it at that. Do you enjoy music festivals or concerts more? Do you like going to both? What's your kind of style?
I really love music festivals, like the vibe where like everyone is entirely non-judgmental. I feel like you can't get anywhere else. Everyone is just as concerned as possible with having a good time, and it's just like you could like really feel like the positive vibe. It's just a great place.
I completely agree. I completely agree. So, guys, if you have any comments, questions, go ahead, leave them in the chat. Dan, if you want to pull up the chat, someone just asked if you can see the comments.
I cannot, but it's
Okay,
probably pretty easy to do.
I sent it to you on
Oh, there,
Facebook. Just pull it up. You can mute the audio or pause the audio. The chat box will be on the right-hand side. If you guys have any questions, comments for me or for Dan, Jason says he can confirm that you are a solid rager. Jason, he joined us on a live stream a couple days ago for a Yaaarny live stream, and we also did a prop bet. We did like a fantasy draft yesterday for the 10K heads up W Coop heads up event, and me, Jason, Odd Odson, Escobar did a draft, and of course Odd Odson won because he runs so good. And
yep,
Odd Odson had like 5 of the last 8 people left, so
of course he did.
Odson, man, that's so fucking good. Oh yeah, just to tell people out there, I'm gonna be live streaming again Thursday with Odd Odson. Sometime this week, I think me and LaForte are doing part 3.
Strong.
And
Big
next
LaForte
week,
fan?
but who isn't a big LaForte fan these days, man?
Yeah.
He's the most loved person in PLO right now, besides Yaaarny, I think. And then next Monday, I'm gonna have my someone I've known for a long time, Greg Merson, Greggy. He's gonna be
I've known Greggy in my brief college career, my freshman year, I met Greggy at Maryland, so he's been a longtime buddy of mine.
really. Isn't it kind of cool that you guys have kind of
Move up the ranks, yeah. Like,
the rings
I remember
together?
him being like a 50-cent $1 player online, and then guy wins the fucking main event.
I know, it's pretty sick. I mean, I remember me and him used to battle a lot back in the No Limit days before he like and he won the main event. I'm like, man, that could have been in theory any other regular that plays a lot or Supernova Elite or something like that. So
Man, he was a sick grinder in his day. He would just like 20 table like 8 hours every single day. He just
yeah,
loved it.
had some great work ethic before. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited to have him on because I want to find out how his mindset has changed because obviously he's not the big online grinder anymore. I don't know if I would be either. I win $8 million before taxes and before pieces and stuff like that. But I want to I'm gonna have a great conversation with him, and I want to figure out how his approach, his poker, his mindset has changed, and I'm super excited to have him on. So it's gonna be fun. We got a lot to talk about. Me and you got a lot to talk about, man. I wrote down some brief talking points here, and I ended up with 20 things, 25 things. Although we're not gonna get to all of them, of course. You said you want to hit the gym in a little while, but yeah, so we'll get to some of these here. And then, as I said, if anyone does have any comments or questions, all the live stream viewers, who's out there today, man? We got a bunch of regs out there. We've been doing the Yaaarny streams. You've said you've been following the Yaaarny PLO prep bet, correct? Let's look at the comments.
Yeah, on either side, just for funsies, but it was.
Uh-oh. Dan's lagging a little bit. Are you still lagging? Let's see. Say something again.
I'm saying something. I just pulled up the YouTube link with the chat box,
Okay.
so I don't know if that is leading the link or to rather.
Yeah, it's kind of lagging a bit now. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Dun, dun, dun.
I could try I'm gonna try closing that YouTube link and see if it fixes
Okay.
everything.
Sounds good. Yeah, try doing that. What is the one thing?
But then that means you have to fill in the chat box.
It's still lagging. This is like
Has it gotten better?
Let's see. It's a little bit better.
I mean, internet in Canada is just the worst.
Now it's better. Now it's better. All right. Yeah, if there's any comments, I'll kind of talk in the comments. Usually on the live streams, which I talk a lot about the questions and comments and stuff like that. So I'll be doing that. Okay, for those that have been following the Yaaarny prop bet but that don't know what it is, he was trying to win 100 buy-ins at 510 and above on PokerStars. He had 31 days to do it. He bet 100,000 to win $200,000. Biggest better against him was Ike Haxton. It's 17 hours left. Yesterday he was at 78 buy-ins. He lost 79 buy-ins. He started the day at -1 buy-ins. So we live streamed yesterday. Yeah, it was the saddest day I've fucking had in a while now for the PLO world, because we were hoping Yaaarny would win that, but unfortunately he had a slight issue. So you said you've been following that a bit?
Was there one guy who benefited from his fortune?
Man, your lag is bad now. Here, just say like a 10-second, or say like a 25-second sentence.
25-second sentence. Okay, I'm gonna pretend I'm saying I'm looking for our pal Jason Lovely in this thing, but I do not see him. But I'll give him a what up. He's been a buddy of mine many years, and in our day we used to rage a little bit.
Do you still have the chat open on YouTube?
I'll fix it.
Lag. Yeah, the lag's really bad on your end now. Ever since you opened up the YouTube video on your end.
Technology is a hard thing.
Yeah, maybe we should try. Maybe you could try either restarting your browser or try doing the computer thing again.
I closed everything aside from this. Yeah.
All right. Dan's gonna try to redo his connection, guys. Speaking of that, if we want to talk, I'll ask some questions real quick, and if you guys want to, I'll take note of these questions you guys are asking Dan. And yeah, we'll get back to those. Sometimes people have bad internet, man. Let's see. We're back.
How about now?
It's a bit better, it looks like. Yeah, it's good now, I hope. Does Dan Smith ever say holler when he wins a hand live? Probably. You don't seem like you'd say holler too much. The lag. All right, say another 25-second sentence about pizza.
Okay, I'm pretending I'm saying things. I'm really digging your background posters. Solid podcast setup. And just as this is the office that whenever I play, I'm here. And there's been a lot of talk on the interwebs about Ben Solsky's famous treadmill desk. You can see this little contraption behind me. That is the desk.
Maybe we can't see the contraption. Let's see.
Where you see, like, there's the two monitors on it. It's
well, now the screen's black on mine, and technical difficulties all over the place. I don't know why. This is the first time it's happened like this. Yeah, now it's black on. It's black. I'm not sure if it's showing up black on the actual thing. Let me check the video and see the playback here. Oh yeah, it is just showing up black. Yeah. So you can try if you want to do close the webcam. We can close the webcam if you want to. If you want to try restarting again because that worked and then not open any of the chat, we can try to do that too.
I'll try the other Wi-Fi connection.
Okay, sounds good. Lag's good now. Yeah.
Oh wait, the lag is good now?
Well, the video is still not in. That's probably why. Dancing in the streets. You mentioned something about my background. I haven't actually done the background. I just bought these posters and then I put them down somewhere, and then I haven't actually put them on my wall yet. So. I
mean, you're better than me. I've bought a fair bit of artwork for the house I live in Toronto, but I didn't put any of it up. It's just like leaning against the wall in various places.
That's how mine is right now. Dancing in the streets, dancing in the. Do you ever sing? Are you a rapper? Or are you a freestyle rap?
I am not a freestyle rapper. I know I could see why you would think that, but it's not a skill of mine.
Well, we like to freestyle here on the live streams and on the podcast, so we might have to have a freestyle battle later. We might have to have a dance up potentially as well if you're a dancer. You seem like you'd be a dancer. You go to music festivals. You're out there, getting a little bit of rage on. So
yeah.
Yeah, your video right now is doing the same thing it did when you first connected, and then it went away and then came back. It's doing that thing.
All right, I'll try rebooting once more, and if it doesn't work,
then we'll do no video on your end.
And I could try. I have a laptop upstairs, so now it's a little better.
Okay. Cool.
I'll reboot. I'll be back.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Papi, what's up, Rems? Carl Priest. I'll have to put an annotation after I upload this video to make it go by. But yeah, Yaaarny lost 78 buy-ins yesterday. If you guys don't know, losing 78 buy-ins at Pilo, slightly challenging to do. And by slightly challenging, I mean apparently it's standard for Yaaarny because he was playing $2,500 deep at 510, which is pretty deep. And yeah, unfortunately he ran very bad. He played slightly poor, debatably, and unfortunately the prop bet, I believe, was over. The $300,000 is going the bettor's way. So pretty sad day. Mike Jones, can we get any Ivy story from KingDan? We will ask him for an Ivy story, of course. Of course we will. Is he still an Ivy Pro? We'll ask him that too. I believe he is. Does he play PLO Donkaments? I hope nobody plays PLO Donkaments, but... Oh yeah, and I'm going to be live streaming this week. The WCoop 6 Max PLO tournament is tomorrow. I'll be streaming the final rundown of the final table-ish, maybe like 12:15, with probably with Jay Nandes if he doesn't make the final table, or Isladrun. And then also WCoop main event. Going to be doing that as well. So we just ask questions over again once his connections are fixed. Yeah, Corey, just ask the questions. I kind of saw some questions, but yeah, you can just ask them when we get back into it, and yeah, I'll get to all the questions too. Dragos, see you at Tomorrowland next year. Of course, you will see me at Tomorrowland next year. I cannot wait to go back. I'm very excited to go back. Meeks, what's up, man? We got a bunch of regulars out there today. I know we got a lot of new people that you know, are fans of Dan or they're friends of Dan here, and welcome to the live stream. Welcome to the podcast. Leave a comment. Leave a question. The podcast Run Good is known to exist. People listening to the podcast while playing are said to be up $785,000 so far this year. So hopefully some of the podcast Run Good will run off on you. Tomorrowland's overhyped? Not really. You got a mindset like that, Judas, of course it's going to be overhyped. But if you go there with a proper mindset, I think you're going to find that it's properly hyped, man. If you go into a situation thinking it's overhyped, I mean, obviously it's probably not going to live up to the expectations that you set for yourself in your mind. So, Danny 986, what's up, Danny? Danny 98765. I think Danny's a coach. He's a training video person. I think on some site, maybe on Run It Once. I sometimes watch tournament videos to fall asleep to on Run It Once. So, who's that one guy like? Sam Greenwood. That guy's awesome. He's my favorite video instructor that teaches tournaments. Corey says, just found out about you via Twitter. Seem like a cool dude, bro. Yeah, Poppy. Sounds good, Corey. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for saying I'm a cool dude, bro. Cool dude, bro. I'm more of a Poppy. I call myself. I don't call myself Poppy, but I call myself Joe. But I call everybody else Poppy, and Amigo, and Mommy. How much is the Run Good? Is because of the fort? Well, the fort's up $285,000. So, while listening to the podcast, are we back, Dan?
I'm back. Is there a video?
Yep, still lag. Yep, still lagging. So yeah, just turn your webcam off, and then we'll go from here. Plus 200 buyins.
All right.
All right. I'll just keep the video.
All right. How's this?
That's obvious. It's better now. Yeah.
All right.
I know you're sad now, but I'm sorry, guys. The video's gonna be focused on me. I apologize. I know they wanted to see Dan's pretty beard and his nice background of the Sauce 123 epic treadmill setup, but unfortunately, we gotta go just audio. All right, Dan, ready to go?
We're ready. Let's do it.
All right. I know you're sad now that you can't be seen, but it's okay.
Yeah, even got the room looking pretty and all that jazz, but
All right. Well, let's get back into it. All right. So, as I said, you were following the Yaaarny prep bet, correct?
Yeah. I'm good friends with Ike, and Ike had a lot of action on that, so I was following it a bit.
You're good friends with Ike?
Yeah.
Not a friend of the live stream. We don't.
Yeah, I know he bet against Yaaarny, And I will say, if not for the fact that Ike fired so big against it, like obviously you have to root for Yaaarny. The kid showed so much heart, and it's like, I mean, I just remember like last night when I look it up, and I'm like, wow, this dude is still 12 tabling, like 800 bets deep on every table. That's just that was something.
That was pretty epic to watch. I actually wish I live streamed the whole thing. I did it for 3 hours, and then I got tired, so I just stopped doing it. And I saw he was playing pretty much all night, and then I woke up, and then it was just a bloodbath. He got beat up by Johan. He got beat up by, I think, Lottie as well, who are, I mean, as you stated earlier, he's playing shorthanded lineups with, even though there's 1.5 days left, he kind of pushed the variance, but he was playing shorthanded lineups with guys that are up hundreds of thousands of dollars at PLO, and they're a very good PLO player, and they don't run bad. So
yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was probably not the smartest approach you could take to that. Was it like something that, I mean, are you like pretty in the, what's your kind of network of people like these days? Are you mainly friends with tournament players? Are you friends with kind of?
I have some pieces of some of the high stakes PLO guys, so I keep interested, and like Donnie was on the podcast. He's one of my best friends. He likes to talk about which guys he thinks are good, which aren't so good. Laforte's a good buddy of mine, and obviously he's really into the scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I have just a few other friends who play PLO.
So, why don't you play PLO then? Seems like a game that you might enjoy.
The opportunity cost of learning a new game would be pretty expensive.
Very true.
Like, I'm quite good at No Limit. My expectation is really high playing these tournaments, and I kind of like tournaments as opposed to like cash games. I know it's better in PLO than No Limit, but I hate the politics of playing cash games. I like to show up and play.
So it sounds like, unfortunately, you're a fan of Zoom poker then.
I do like Zoom.
We don't like. I mean, we like Zoom sometimes, I suppose, but yeah.
I mean, these 25-50 Zoom games are pretty sick.
When they run, which is unfortunate because they don't run that often. When they run, they
run all the time.
Debatably all the time. We might have different definitions of all the time. Then if they think they run all the time, they run. I guess they run okay. We'll see how much they run now after W Coop goes. This will be interesting because the games have been pretty good during the Yaaarny prep bet.
Yeah.
And W Coop going on, because you see sometimes tournament players will jump in the 10-20 Zoom when it's running, or 25-50 Zoom. I saw that sick guy, that he's one of my tournament heroes. I don't know anything about him. I'm not even really familiar with his name, but his Calvin Anderson.
Yes, I'm familiar with them.
I was railing because WSOP updates. He kept being at the top of the chip layer. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy, Calvin Anderson? This guy's like sick. And then I saw him playing some 25-50 PLO Zoom, making some debatable plays. But either way, I see him playing lately. So is he known as like one of the best or something right now?
As far as online tournament, the GPI is like the ranking for live tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
There's some like online rankings that I'm not super familiar with, but Cal is either at the top or near the top of those usually. Mm-hmm. And also, he's just a really good mass multi-tabler. Like, I've seen him like routinely playing like 30 tournaments at a time, and that's just something I can't do.
I love this guy. I don't know the guy, but I love him from that description. 30 tournaments at once is definitely my kind of player, man. I gotta learn. I gotta get this guy on a podcast. This sounds like, man. So, do you like have rivalries with other tournament players? Is that kind of similar to cash games, where you have like one guy that you're always or a couple guys you're always battling with, or that might run better than you, or something like that?
I did have some rivals, or there was a point when I was like really going for Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. It was close between me and Marvin Rettenmeyer, and it was like always a friendly thing, but I was quite aware of how he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, I don't really feel like I ever there's some people who like play the scene that aren't my favorite people, so it's always like especially satisfying if I beat them. But I don't really have like rivals, I would say.
Are these well-known people that might not be your favorite people, or are these like low-key people that might not be
sometimes yes, sometimes it's just like random live regulars, and like for whatever reason, like some guy's just like always a dick to me. I don't know why.
Who's this guy? Is this
no one who anyone would know, but there's just like one guy who I play with a couple times at the World Series every summer, and for like no reason, he's just like he like tries to pick on me, and it's like, bro, you're like 70 years old. Like, don't you have better things to do than like give me shit? But I don't know. I think like years ago I played with him, and I just was like three betting him like every time he opened, and he like took it personally.
So he like picks on you like in a non-poker type of way, in like a verbal or physical type of way or something
I
like
mean, no, it's not a physical kind of way, but he's just making comments or whatever.
that? Ooh.
Or like, okay, he'll like call the floor on me as like for over like complete nonsense. Um, like last summer, I had to give I staked some people to play tournaments during the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
So I had like somebody came up to me and I was like giving him like I don't know if you've ever like been at the Rio, but like those 1K chips.
Hmm.
I pull out like a stack of them to give the guy like 12,000 to play some tournaments with, and I like put them on the table like briefly, and he like makes a scene about how I'm like putting foreign chips on the table, and I'm like, you can't tell the difference between this like cash value chip and the tournament chips, and he like called the floor on me like, come on.
These it's fucking crazy out here in these tournament streets, man. These old
Yeah.
damn man, fuck. I want to get in these streets. I'm trying to get into some tournament arguments with some old guys, man. That sounds like fun.
I find the super high rollers a lot more fun than like the smaller tournaments.
Is it
One, just because the money is way bigger, and just
Mhm.
because like people know how to conduct themselves, like you deal with the same people, and like the non-professional poker players, they're usually really interesting dudes.
So remember me and Lex Feldhaus Razzie, we had a pretty big discussion about this exact thing. He said that he really likes playing with. I mean, obviously outside the benefit of that, the recreational players tend to be not as good as professionals, but he enjoys playing with them because he feels like most people that play live tournaments don't engage those type of players in conversation enough, and they look at them in like a predatorial type of way rather than like a way where they can actually maybe learn something about life or learn something from those particular people or just have more fun with them. Do you think that I guess it sounds like you have that outlook where you try to, really get to know these guys a little bit better, or maybe get to, get their story or something like that?
Absolutely. If you're just a recreational guy who has like the means to flick in like $250,000 into a poker tournament whenever you feel like it, you probably like you likely have some interesting things to say.
I would.
Either like you're successful, or if you maybe you have some like crazy party stories, or both. It, I really enjoy like the social aspect of it, and like you start to like some of the guys, and you see the same like couple of dozen people in various cities all over the world.
So do you feel that a lot of tournament players aren't doing that? They're more treating these guys in a negative type of way rather than I guess, a positive type of way?
Yeah, like I don't know, there are some guys who are always wearing like their hoodie, their sunglasses, their earbuds, and they never engage anyone, and they're just like constantly on their iPad playing open-faced Chinese.
So
Um,
what about the type of guys that engage these people but in a negative type of way?
that just makes me like really angry. Those guys are dicks. Or like when you see someone like berating someone else at the table, it's like, what are you trying to accomplish, man? Like, there's no benefit that could happen.
Do you think this is a something that this is kind of strategic. I don't want to say this because I mean there's gonna be a lot of tournament players. I feel like are you kind of like are you pretty well known in the tournament streets? I mean what's the MTT online community like? Is it like because I kind of just hang out in the PLO world. I'm not super familiar with like that dynamics or like if there's like a hierarchy or how people look at other people, that type of thing. So
It is a bit clicky. In the last couple of years, I like lost a little bit of touch with like the online community because I've been playing like it used to be every day. I would be like grinding like the 100 rebuy and like the Wednesday super whatever the stars tournament's called, and like stuff like that.
hmm.
And now when I'm like playing more live, I do think like they're just like people who tend to get like more respect than others, or like I don't know. I had a stretch during the World Series this year where in like five different tournaments in a row, the topic about other people kept bringing up how sick I was at tournaments, which was like kind of weird for them to be talking about while they're playing against me. But I was enjoying it.
I mean that's a pretty ultimate sign of respect when your peers or when people you're playing with are talking about you in that type of way. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. It's got to
Or
be
it's kind of cool. Like I had a stretch where I played the one drop this summer, and
cool.
there were there was a period of time when like leading up to the events, I was like running up some stacks, like things were going well, and it's like people just kept asking me like as I was like running a table over, like, "Hey Dan, you got any one drop action to sell? Like I want a piece of you seeing you play." So that was like a nice compliment.
Okay, that answers my question. I don't even know anymore. I mean, I'm happy. I'm very happy. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. What does someone say? Someone has a question that I was curious about. So Lance says, Lance Beckman. What's up, Lance? Who is KingDan's close poker friend? So do you, these days, this day and age, I mean, obviously you said you have Sauce's epic treadmill set up in the background there that we can't see anymore, but we can see at the beginning of the live stream. And you mentioned you were friends with Lafort. You mentioned you're friends with Ike Haxton. You know, are those guys your close poker friends, or you have, you know, what's your kind of your little circle of the world like?
Mike Watson is one of my closest friends. Usually he and I travel together to tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, Donnie Stern is one of my best friends. I also live with Aaron A.E. Jones in Toronto.
Ooh.
And from back in the day, like Andrew Lucky Chewy and Steve Zugwat Silverman are like two of my friends. We used to live together in Maryland.
Oh, cool. So yeah, you kind of have like I guess those guys are all pretty well known in the poker circles of things. So
yeah.
Do you still find that, you know, you've been playing for such a long time, you probably had these friends for such a long time. Do you still find that you end up talking a lot of strategy with these people, or do you find out that most of your relationship with them is more on like a non-real like in-depth poker talk?
Poker inevitably comes up quite regularly. Even sometimes we're like drinking at the bar, and just like someone will have like a random poker like theory that they wanted to share or whatever. I talk poker with all of these guys quite regularly. It's actually one of the reasons I'm excited to go to Austin for 5 weeks. It'll be nice to like get away from like poker all day every day.
Mm-hmm.
Like my routine tends to be elsewhere.
Makes sense. Jason Lavallee asks, thoughts on scarves. Now I'm really curious about your position on scarves, because I've been seeing Ryan Fee, who I've known for a while. He's been wearing scarves lately in these tournaments. Unless you're European, I don't understand why any North American would ever wear scarves at all these tournaments.
I mean, they're trying to hide their neck pulse. I think it's kind of pussy shit, to be honest. Like, come on. We're indoors, like especially like I was playing with Fee in Florida. It was like 100 degrees out. Like,
what the fuck are you doing, Ryan? On the final table, Ryan was wearing this scarf. I'm like, Ryan, I don't remember Ryan ever wearing scarves. And then I was just like, what is? It's starting to get over in America. I feel like I should be wearing a scarf right now. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
I don't like it. Honestly, even in like cold weather, I don't really wear scarves as like protest against it, which is probably a little overly stubborn, but I'm just not okay with it.
Yes, it's probably a little bit overly stubborn. Yes, you probably should. Scarves keep you warm sometimes. You know, it's kind of a fashionable thing. I'm not sure how big into fashion a kid like you is, but I feel like maybe that's why some of these Euro guys wear them. The Scandi guys mainly. They probably wear them. Maybe they think they look good. Maybe they might.
I'm sure they do think they look hip, but I bet you they're really worried about like their neck pulse. I kind of like going in and just being like, "Come look at me." Like, you're obviously not gonna pick up any tells on me. Like, let's be real. So if you want to like stare at my neck, you're welcome to. But
this is what it feels like to be one of the best, guys.
Yeah.
Get into the mindset of one of the best right now. Get into his mindset. This is how you should feel. You should walk in there, no spirit hood on, no scarf, no anything, just knowing that you got no tells, man.
Just choose not to give off any tells.
Just choose. It's an option, right? It's an option.
Yeah.
Makes sense. It's an option. What if you met a girl that happened to like wearing scarves? Would you look at her some kind of way, or could you give it a pass? Because it sounds like you got a real issue with scarves.
It actually has come up before with my feelings on scarves, but it's certainly not a deal breaker for me. It could lead. It has led to a couple. I don't want to call it an argument. I'll say like a heated discussion, but I'm okay with them.
Wow, interesting. Okay, interesting. Okay? I see why. Jason
I think I'm like slightly exaggerating a bit, But
Because
man,
obviously, as you start dating a little bit higher quality of women, they sometimes like to dress fashionable, and then they end up wearing a scarf, especially when it's.
yeah, yeah.
If you're seeing this scarf all the time, I feel like you might get some PTSD from like some type of tournament where someone was wearing a scarf and he. Yeah, I mean,
You know
no.
what? I'll just think that like this chick is trying to like cover her tails for me and doesn't want to pick up anything, and that's fine if you want to go that route. But I'll be here with my neck exposed. Like, come at me.
So it sounds like neck, as far as neck GTO, that's like if a girl's wearing a scarf, that's like not very GTO-ish in terms of ways to attract KingDan to making you like them. So if you're a woman out there and you want
You
to
know
know,
what? I will concede some scarves do look really good on a female.
it's funny. I agree. I agree. Let's start. Let's not talk anymore. Let's not talk anymore. Whatever the hell I'm saying. So you are a coach at Ivy Poker, correct?
Yes.
So it feels like everybody in tournaments makes videos now. Why do you choose to make videos, training videos, strategy videos?
Well, I actually don't really think everyone makes videos. Like, I think you'll struggle to come up with like a list of like elite players who do make videos.
Hmm.
Um, Aaron, like I've said before, is like one of my good buddies. He was the owner of Lego Poker, and like there was a period of time when me, him, Lucky Chewy were all living in the same house, and I was happy to be a part of like his project.
Hmm.
And I also think like the process of making videos has made me a better player. Um, like for instance, I've watched every video I've made at least one time. Like I've studied myself play. That's great for like improving as a player.
Hmm.
And they also they pay me all right. So and like I enjoy doing it. It's good to mix it up, and it feels satisfying to like make a video that I'm proud of.
So do you think that? Because I think back in the No Limit days, No Limit Cash games, the training videos really made the games super super harder. Do you feel like it's gotten that way in tournaments, or well, I mean, I'm gonna guess. I think I might know your actual question actually, but do you think that's had that same type of impact in the tournament community? Maybe not as much live, but probably online. I'm assuming it's probably had a more bigger impact. But do you feel like it's had any type of impact on the live tournament world specifically?
I mean, people have gotten a lot better. Like that's it's just a fact. But
Hmm.
honestly, tournaments are still like quite soft, and like you see regulars that just have terrible. I don't know if you're like a GTO or a field player or both, but there are so many of these tournament players that just have like horrific fundamentals. Like they're years behind the trends.
That's what I figured your answer. Right when I started asking the question, I knew what you specifically were going to say, but I was already in the middle of asking it, so I was going to ask it anyway. But there's some tournament players I talk to who say the opposite of that. They say that the games online they feel like are pretty are a lot tougher now. But I mean, you said you don't really play as much online, so you're more in the live circle of things, correct?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard to be motivated to play like $100 tournaments online when I'm pretty regularly playing $100,000 tournaments live, you know? And
I
it's
don't, I
just
don't know.
like,
I don't.
okay, well,
I mean, I think so. So I've always looked at it. I mean, when I play 2050 or 1020 online, I still am motivated to play lower stakes. I can understand how some people have the mindset where it's really hard for them to get motivated to keep playing lower as well when they do play higher. Also, when your bankroll reaches a certain point, for a lot of people, they probably just don't feel like it's worth their time to really focus on doing something like that when they could be focusing on these, upper echelon tournaments. So it sounds like you're probably your bankroll's in a slightly comfortable position right now.
I've had a good couple of years.
It sounds like you don't have to worry about these grinding out these, I don't even know what a tournament player that plays those type of tournaments online would expect to make a month, but yeah, it sounds like you can kind of take it easy and focus on the bigger tournaments, and in the meanwhile enjoy your time outside of poker and kind of have a actual non-poker life sort of thing.
I like to have like periods of time where I'm all about poker, and then I like to have periods of time where I'm off from it. Sometimes have a hard time like balancing life and poker.
Yeah. So I think that's common. I do think that you need to be obsessed with poker to kind of see your best results. Do you feel like you need to be almost 100% focused on poker for you to actually feel like you're playing your best and you're having the most success you could have?
Yes. The guys who are playing day in and day out and um, like studying their game and whatever, they're just gonna be sharper and they're gonna be playing better.
So right now you said you're not playing much poker, right?
No. Um, in Mexico this year, actually, when I was visiting Donnie and his girlfriend Stephanie, along with some of our other friends, I decided I was gonna play the one drop, and I'm like, you know what? That was like the end of March, and the one drop I think was like either the end of June or like early July. I'm gonna play as much poker as I can. I'm gonna study poker for a few hours a day. Like I made some changes, like my various lifestyle. I cut back out the raging more or less entirely. Like for the next several months, I'm just gonna focus entirely on poker and be ready to play. And then I put in a ton of volume between March and like mid-July, and
Mhm.
now since then I've decided I want to take some time off.
So would you say you're kind of like real on, real off? Is that a typical pattern for you? So you're in on poker, and then you're kind of out for a brief period of time, and then you get back in. You're all about it, obsessed with it, and
Well,
then
I've never really been like off of poker. I took like a couple weeks off, and I think of like the 10 years playing, I maybe had 1 month off where I didn't play poker in like my entire career.
yeah, I can definitely relate to that for sure. So what the hell are you doing right now, man? What are you doing with your time? I mean, you're in Toronto. You're obviously you're able to play online. What do you?
Well, I
I know
have been
Lefort
playing a bit of
told me
WT.
he's working out with you. That's kind of like a full-time job in itself because Lefort eats 55 times a day. He drinks 120 bottles of water. He goes to the bathroom 35 times a day. So if you're hanging out with Lefort, your day's pretty much.
Yeah, I've been trying to do the Lefort workout routine, which is pretty fucking intense.
I'm sure it is. The fittest man in poker, debatably, Lefort, Sean Lefort.
Yeah. Um, I've been doing a lot of yoga. I've been trying to like work on my mobility, like through all of like this time at like a regular non-treadmill desk. I like hunch forward and I have tight shoulders. I I'm like pretty into like self-improvement. I'm like constantly trying to improve myself in like various ways. I've been like meditating a lot. Um, I've been taking this time off from poker to like date some women and go out and like I was partying a lot during TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival.
Mhm. KingDan, sounds like me and you have some fun together, man.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, man. I mean, you're talking the same on here. You know, popular trends are partying, girls, women. I mean, these are common. These are things we sometimes talk about around here. So
The important things.
you're hitting all the regular things.
Yep.
I wanna touch on a couple comments we have because we've been building up the comments here. So
Okay.
someone said about these podcasts aren't strat oriented. So typically my podcast, for people that might be their first one, I don't really get, this isn't really like a training video. These aren't like training like things where I'm trying to teach or trying to get poker in-depth strategy from the guest or from whoever I have on. It's more like, I want to learn more about the people, how they think, what their goals are, what their passions are. We end up talking a little bit of life strategy, but more so specific, like, how can I improve my game by studying what, and what simulations can I run to make myself a better poker player. We try not to focus on those type of questions on here. But if you do have some questions, you are free to ask. Like Corey was asking a couple questions, and you can ask whatever you want, and I'll choose some I'll answer and some I won't answer. But
Okay.
that someone was saying that, and then some of the regular people were commenting back as well. So Mark says if you want his strat, sign up to Ivy Poker. Yeah, man, sign up to Ivy. Go support Dan, man.
I
Make him
will
earn.
say, I have a new tournament series on Ivy Poker coming out.
Mhm.
It's gonna be awesome.
What makes it awesome? So in your opinion, what's going to make one of your series
Okay.
better? Other
I
people.
went deep in the main event this year.
Of
I got 20th out of like 7 or 8,000, whatever the number is. Uh, uh, Um, and I played some like wild hands this year, including the craziest hand I ever played. I broke down my run of of the main with Phil Ivey, and we broke down like the 15 biggest pots I played.
Well, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, and I'm also like, there's gonna be, I think more than half of the hands will air on ESPN, so you'll get to like see all the live aspect, see if maybe you could pick up tells on like me or my opponents, or like the game flow. Like, I think it's gonna be cool.
That sounds really cool, actually. It sounds different. You know, I like originality. I like outside the box thinking. I like outside the box ideas, and that idea is something that you don't see kind of out there right now. That sounds cool, man. That sounds really fun. Man, you get 20th too? How sick is that? God. So
I had some offers to like buy my stack before. It was before day 7 of the main. I could have like tried to unload some of my action at like low 7 figures, but I'm just like, you know what? I don't even want to be. I'm just going to gamble it. This is like a once in a lifetime opportunity. Let's run it up to 10 million. And if I like, if I final table, maybe then I could focus on like selling some pieces or whatever.
Must be nice. Must be nice.
Well, also, it was like the day ended at like 1 in the morning. I got like a text at 2 a.m. and I could have either like tried to do these calculations, or I could have gone to sleep and just tried to like put myself in the situation and play my best. And I'm just like, whatever happens, happens. And plus, like, at that point, I was running so good in the main, and like every bluff I was running was just working. So I felt like untouchable. Like I thought I was gonna win.
No, I'm kind of sad you didn't. So I'm gonna ask you a question, and then I'm gonna go to the bathroom, because normally I talk about you always want to gain an EV edge, especially when you're doing podcasts, when you're playing online poker. So we talk about using the trusty P bottle. I'm not sure if you're a P bottle aficionado, but on the live stream I can't use the P bottle because it's kind of weird. So I'm gonna ask a question. I'll let you answer the question, and then I'm gonna go to the bathroom because I drink a lot of water. Because Lefort tells me.
Because Lefort tells you to, yeah.
When Lefort also told me I should change my diet a bit, but sometimes I haven't quite changed my diet a bit. So let me find a question.
Okay.
Peaver Dunk. Dan, do you play the Alpha 8 tournaments? Do you like this 100K tournament circuit? What's your take on rebuys, reentries?
Okay. I've never played an Alpha 8. The dates typically haven't been convenient for me, and for the most part, they haven't been like too well connected to other tournaments. Like, one was in St. Martin that I didn't go to, and it was just like kind of an ordeal, like, to get there, and like the main event there was like kind of a small buy-in. I do really enjoy playing high rollers, and I like the re-entry aspect of them. I think re-entry is good for the best players in the game. It just gives you like the opportunity to play like a 100K tournament a few times instead of just the once. I think for like I'll call it like the not as good regulars, it really cuts into their edge because it like dilutes the weaker players who make it to the finals. But I think for me personally, it's good, and it's fun getting the opportunity to like fire really big. You know, when you play these like 100K tournaments, you double up twice, and you're like thinking like, well, my stack's worth 400K. Maybe there's only like 40 players in it, and you're already thinking like, okay, I have 10% of the chips. It like feels really winnable. You asked specifically about the Alpha 8. I think I'll play the tournament in December at 5 Diamond. I wish I could have gone to defend my title from last year, but the dates conflict with EPT Prague. So I think I'm just going to fly in for the 100K there, eat some sushi, and then finish off the year in Mexico visiting Donnie.
Just going to fly and eat some sushi, huh? So
and play the 100K.
Fly in and eat some sushi, play 100K. What are you doing this weekend? I'm going to go eat some sushi and play 100K, man. I mean, that's pretty sweet. Sushi, you know? What are you doing tomorrow? Go eat some sushi, play a $100,000 tournament, man. You know, whatever.
I like sushi.
I like sushi, too. And you kind of have to like sushi if you're a poker player, I think. It's just so good, too. It's, like, really good. I mean,
there's no other food that compares.
Well, it's not. I'm not ready to make that statement right there, but
okay.
I think it's pretty good. Do you eat steak? I like steak a lot.
I love steak. Like, sushi and steak are my 1-2.
Now that's a pretty good combination. I like
Yeah. One thing about Toronto, the best steakhouse I've had anywhere in the world is here. It's called Jacob's. If anyone's ever in town, you just have to do it.
it. Is that downtown somewhere?
Yeah, it's actually like around the corner from where LaForte lives.
Of course it's. Of course, LaForte's near the best steakhouse you've ever
Yeah,
been
I
to.
mean,
Of course it is.
he eats there like
LaForte
twice a
aura
day.
just LaForte aura just like spills into the steakhouse, and then it's just all of a sudden the best that exists.
Yep.
God, LaForte. Is LaForte so? People on here, we've had LaForte on for a couple. He's been on here for maybe 4 hours of podcast, and I think he's coming on again this week. He said we got to record something this week before I go to Europe. I believe he said. Is being around LaForte in person? Is it the same as? Is it the same as how some people feel about him online, where they really love him?
He's just like an awesome dude, and like he's a pretty awesome combination of like a good bro and he like a game theory nerd, you know? Like he'll be happy to like tell you for some like story about like him raging where he does some like ridiculously awesome like does some shit. And then he hears like people discussing like game theory like over there and like cut in and like interject and like so he's got like the full range.
Well, I know he's been running a lot of simulations and been studying GTO on women lately, so he was. I'm not. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed to talk about these things according to LaForte, but I'm going to say them anyway because they're funny and they're. Yeah, he's been grinding the women simulation forums. I think he's been on there on the like the what did he say? There was I can't say that. I can't name that site because that'll give away what he's been doing. But yeah, you probably he's got some interesting stories, man. He's got some.
He's got some good ones.
He does. I wish he'd let me tell them, but he's like he says people will stalk him or something. He doesn't want to get stalked. It's fine. I get it. When you're LaForte, you get stalked apparently. So
I gotta understand wanting to keep like your personal life and like not like out of like in like the public eye or whatever.
yeah, I think most people are like that. I think in a way I kind of put myself out there a bit more than most people just because I think it's whatever. I don't think it matters too much, but I know some people it matters to them a lot. So.
Yeah.
Andre says LaForte is debatably the greatest man alive. I'm telling you, people love LaForte. I'm telling you, man, it's crazy. They love him, man. So which camera do you use? I have this Logitech 1080 HD camera that I use, and it looks pretty good. It comes out really clear when you put it in the highest quality on YouTube. So yeah, I'd recommend it if any of you guys are interested in doing that. Corey asks, do you mix MTTs and cash games during a World Series? Yeah, do you play a lot of live cash games, or are you mainly just kind of?
I went through a period of time where I've played a lot of cash games, specifically after Black Friday, in that like state of panic. I'm like, oh, what am I gonna do? I was gonna see if like playing the 2040 Bellagio game would be a good way to make a living, and I was just after like a week or 10 days of that, I'm like, no, this would make me miserable. I've played like maybe a few hundred hours of like mostly like 2040 or like it used to be I'd go play LAPC and like play a bunch of cash games. These days, like for me to play a cash game that I'd want to like, given how slow live poker is, you're gonna get 25 hands an hour. I just really wouldn't be able to play any smaller than like 50, 100. And it's just not that easy to get into games. Every so often I get to play pretty big, and that's just so much fun. Honestly, I'd rather play a super big cash game than a super big tournament, but there's a lot of politics involved and like not easy to get a seed or money or whatever. I don't, for the most part, mess with like the private game scene, but like that's where some of the biggest games are.
Yeah, I've heard that the private game dynamics can be quite interesting and complicated. So a lot of people I know tend to stay away from that type of scene or that type of environment as much as they can because it's just not really. I mean, in a way, it's worth it money-wise, but it's not worth it when you have to deal with.
There are a lot of other things you'd have to consider.
Yeah, exactly, and yeah, it's not something that I'm personally interested in ever getting involved in. Really, I mean, maybe I say that now, but I'm also not a big fan of live poker too, so it's easier to say that.
Yeah, it's slow.
Yeah. Especially some people crave high stakes action. That's why they want to play these live private games because they want a lot of money, they want high stakes action, and this is the only place really to end up getting it sometimes. So.
when I play live poker, given how like slow it is and like an unfeasible way to make a living it is, I feel obligated to like play as big as possible, like whenever.
Of course
Like
you
I'd be playing 2-4 online, but like 50, 100 live.
You'd really like PLO. I mean, I don't want you to play PLO. It doesn't sound like I'd enjoy you at the PLO games, but I think you'd like it.
Last year, I played maybe like 40,000 hands of like 2-5 and 2-4, like just trying to like get my feet wet. I think I have some idea what's going on. I'm not like especially motivated by money right now, so like grinding a ton of PLO and like the opportunity cost of learning.
Mhm.
But I think I would enjoy it as well. Like maybe it'll be one of my projects at some point. I'm also slightly tempted to try to get, if I were to like spend a lot of time at poker, I think I might try to tackle mixed games.
Yeah, it seems kind of like the what a lot of my friends have been focusing on the past couple of years. I mean, I know Brian Hastings, he's all about mixed games. He didn't even play PLO anymore. He just likes playing mixed games. I mean, it doesn't make sense. He's one of the best at PLO, but he
Yeah,
just
but
like
I mean,
loves mixed games. And
these
loves,
1500 3K 8 games on full tilt look pretty good to me. Like I'm not there yet, but just looking at the games, it seems attainable.
you know. Do you play all the high stakes tournaments for all the games, like the 50K 8 game, and like that's all I really know. I don't know. They're 10Ks that are this specific, like Deuce of Seven or whatever the that game is, and then the PLO 8, and then those type of events. Do you play all those events?
Last year in the winter, I committed maybe 100 hours to like learning how to play mix,
Mhm.
which 100 hours isn't a lot, but it's at least something. So I feel comfortable playing. And my plan was to play. I wouldn't have played the 50K. I think those guys are just strictly better than me. I don't have enough practice, but I
Mhm.
would have been comfortable playing most of the other events. But then, given when I decided to play the one drop, I just stopped I stopped playing PLO, I stopped playing mix, and I solely focused on the no limit events. With the exception, I played a couple PLO events, like the 10K PLO is one of the best tournaments of the summer. I played the 10K no limit deuce single draw. I play a little bit of triple draw, and I think maybe I might have played a PLO 8. I'm not sure.
Hmm. Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I like the deuce games.
Somebody just asked a question. I'm not gonna ask you, but somebody just asked a funny question, and
Who I actually have the thing open. Who asked it?
oh, you'll see it. If you haven't seen it yet, you'll see it. You'll see the question. Oh my God! Come on, Mark. Take a chill. Calm down. Calm down, guys. Calm down.
I don't see it.
Okay,
It
good. It's okay if you didn't see it. It's okay.
was he being mean?
Um, depending on your definition of mean, it
Okay.
could be perceived as mean. It wasn't mean to you, but it was mean to somebody else potentially. So I don't want to say that. I like that person. That's just Jason Lava, like he likes that person too. So I don't want to say anything about it. Oh man, I had a thought on my mind, but then this guy he distracted me with this. So you sound like you don't sell much action to tournaments. I mean, I'm obviously the big ones, the 100Ks, 250. I mean, actually, I don't want to say obviously. Do you sell action, a decent amount of action to these 100K pluses?
Um, I go. I mean, when I started playing them, I was selling a lot more action than I am now. They've gone well for a period of time. Some
Mhm.
of it depends on how you're doing tax-wise. Having a losing year as a tournament player just like really messes you up tax-wise, so you could be more inclined to fire when you're winning. Um, I used to like only like have like a reasonably small piece of myself just because like the uh, buyins are so big. More recently, I've been having a good year, and if I want to, I could swap with like a couple of the guys that I consider the best. I haven't been selling as much action lately, but like for the one drop, I sold a lot of action, of course. Like I didn't just flick in the mill ball.
If you told us you did, we'd believe you, right? You sound like you the type of guy that might just like YOLO 1 mil buy-in. You know what I mean? Like,
Not that I'm just gonna reiterate, I wouldn't just flick in a million. But if there wasn't the 11% withholding, which really cuts into like your expected ROI, I would have I would have gambled a bit bigger. As it was, I gambled quite big as well. but I would have fired a lot bigger had it not like the 11% withholding just or not withholding. It's a good charity thing. I know it's a good cause, but I'm a professional gambler. If I'm going to be like firing a huge chunk of my bankroll, I want to get it in as good as possible.
So so there'd be a time where you might put the $1 million in if the circumstances were right.
I could imagine a scenario where like there are still things that are like such good gambles that I could imagine like wanting to go all in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wouldn't say like I couldn't imagine like a poker tournament being a good enough spot. But I don't know. There have been situations like even this year where I've gambled like really, really big.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where I just like this is an opportunity that doesn't get like I got to play in a particularly big game this year. So I'm like, oh, this doesn't come around that often. Uh, yeah, I've been known to gamble sometimes. A long-winded way of saying that.
I like it, man. I like it. I like what I'm hearing. Dan Smith said he could beat you at a freestyle rap show. I don't think Dan said that. He
I
knows
did not say that.
I don't know if Dan's ever heard me freestyle, and sometimes I have my good days, some days I have my bad days, but yeah, I don't think Dan. You want a freestyle rap? You want to do a freestyle, Dan?
I'd rather not.
You need me to put a beat on?
If you would like to do it, I'd be happy to. But just so you know, I will not be battling you.
We don't got a battle. We each say a rap. Are you into big girls by any chance? You into the big girl grind?
I'm not gonna say I haven't done it before,
Okay.
but no, it's not my favorite.
Okay. Well, that's been a common theme lately. The big girl grind. We've been on the big girl grind. 160 or below, gotta go. 160 or above, we got you. We show you love. You a big girl, you ain't getting no love. You come hang out with us, man. We'll show you love. We'll treat you right. So that's been one of our common themes lately. So we like to ask everybody that. And
All right.
yeah, we don't got to freestyle though. It's okay. I don't want to. I might do bad. I'm nervous. Did Dan go to Burning Man? Yeah, did you go to Burning Man this year, Dan?
Burning Man is on my radar. Um, but for me to do it, I would want like my inner circle of guys to be there with me.
That makes sense.
Um, so I haven't done it. Everyone who's gone has raved about it. But no, I haven't done it. I think maybe. I mean, I said this last year too, but next year I would like to do it.
I think everybody says that about a lot of Tomorrowland or Burning Man or after it happens, everyone's pretty hyped. It's like Supernova Elite. You're always hyped up to go. You're like, I'm getting Supernova Elite next year. I'm going to this next year. I'm doing this next year. And then when next year actually comes around, it's like, well, I got this to do. I'm doing that. I'm doing that. And yeah, it's like a pretty common theme. It feels like.
Yeah, and there's also like roughing it for a week, like people talking about how like they only get to shower like one time in the 7 days. Like I'm used to a little bit of a higher standard of living. Like I think I could rough it, but the idea like compared to like going to a music festival and then going to sleep in a hotel bed with a shower and like eating a nice meal is pretty tempting.
You know that people go to Burning Man and they spend a lot of money on these RVs that have these showers and like fancy bathrooms in there. I mean, it sounds like you're at that level where you might be able to spew away some RV potential for Burning Man there.
Yeah, it's an idea that I'm open to, and maybe next year I'd like to do it.
Me too. I had Chris Sparks. I'm not sure if you know him. He plays his Go Muck Yourself online. He hasn't played online for a while, but he travels a lot around the world, and we had a pretty good conversation with him last week, and he was talking about Burning Man he went a bit in depth into it because he was just at it this year, and he said it's like a must go.
Everyone says it's like an unbelievable experience. Every time I play with Antonio, it's found Yaaarny. He gives me like the spiel about how I have to go and play, and he's like, okay, if it's not a top 3 experience in your life, I'll give you $5,000.
Wow.
That's a strong free roll.
That's a pretty strong free roll. I mean, I might people that shower at music festivals, are they not low? What? People that shower at music festivals, I love them.
I think he's calling you a pussy.
By the third day, I think so. By the third day, you're feeling kind of smelly. I mean, you got to shower, especially if you're with a girl. You guys go all day. You guys have been dancing. You guys have been grinding. You've been loving. You've been making a memory. You go back to the hotel room. You want to take a shower before anything happens. You don't want to. the next day comes, you got to be fresh. You got to shower, guys. You got to shower. I mean, if you're not into girls and you don't care, then don't shower. That's fine. But
honestly, even if you're not trying to like pick up like girls, guys, whatever, um, good hygiene is just important. Makes it more pleasant to be around.
I completely agree with you. But some people's viewpoint, they're a bit more ratchet at festivals, and they just choose not to partake in those type of things. So I can definitely understand that. Elenu asked a good question. What's the most baller thing you've spent your money on? What's your biggest purchase? What's your best purchase? Well, biggest and best are obviously probably gonna be different things, but what's your biggest purchase you've made at this point in time of your short existence in the world?
I'm more of an experience person rather than like a things person. Like I don't own anything super fancy, but like in Monte Carlo a couple years ago, I was lucky enough to win 3 5K tournaments in a row. And to celebrate, I rented out a box. Sorry, I have like the chat thing open now, and some people are kind of distracting me. But I rented out a box for a Jays Yankee game and brought like a couple of dozen of my friends, and we partied there. Also, I don't know. Instead of like buying things, I like more inclined to like. I've like traveled the world and like seen Australia and like been all over Asia and like those kind of experiences.
Have you ever went to a country, met a woman or girl, fallen in love with her, and then ended up moving to that country to date her?
No, that's never happened.
Okay, well, I don't recommend trying that, especially if the country you move to is Australia.
If it was gonna be a country, I think it would most likely be Australia. One, I just love Australian girls. Like just everything about them, I'm about it. And Melbourne's just my favorite city in the world.
Have you ever been around Australian girls when they've been drunk at 2 a.m.?
Yes.
Those can't be your most favorite girls in the world. There's no chance. Those girls get like their voice gets all deep and like, hello, yeah, let's go get drunk. Like that's how they start talking. And
I have not noticed the deep raspy voice.
Okay, so the reason I noticed this is because when I used to live in Sydney, I would walk to, this was before I was eating on the Le Fort diet, I'd walk to McDonald's at 2, 3 a.m. because I lived right downtown. It was right in the middle of like a few different clubs. And I would just stand there and people watch. And the voices of the girls were just like, they were pretty unattractive. So yeah, that was, but obviously when you're probably around these girls at 2 a.m., you might be feeling a little bit some type of way where you don't quite notice them.
Being sober around drunk people is just unpleasant.
I would confirm that for sure. I definitely agree with that. It's an experience. It's quite interesting because it really makes you think about how you act, about how others act, and about being drunk in general. And
yeah,
it's
but like compared to say like EDC when everyone's rolling and like the vibe of like positivity, it's like a tangible thing. You know, like you could like even if like I stayed sober this year at EDC because it was a week before One Drop, wasn't drinking.
You mentioned that, yeah.
Didn't smoke, didn't roll, but like obviously a lot of people were, and then if being around wasted people sometimes unpleasant, being around people rolling, telling you they love you is pretty awesome.
I would. It's fun. You know, do you like to dance? Are you a pretty big dancer? Are you a pretty big?
Well, I'm not very good. I'm not gonna lie, but I do really enjoy it, and I love at like a music festival. I could just like dance as sillily as I want, and like no one's gonna give me shit, you know. But like when you go out to like a bar or something, sometimes like I don't know, you feel like self-conscious about it. Like I wish it wasn't the case, but sometimes you just do.
I think it's hard for most people to really get over that feeling, especially when you're in like a bar and you notice everyone's around you just staring, looking, like judging.
I feel like for the most part, people don't care, and like there's probably a couple people who are judging you, but fuck them anyway.
Pretty much. I mean, when I go out anywhere, I dance very much. So I've gotten past that feeling. When I was younger, I definitely used to feel that way, where I'd like, I'm not sure if I'm gonna, move around here a bit. But I think now I'm getting to the point where I think as you get older, you get a little bit more comfortable with yourself. You get a little bit more confident in yourself, hopefully. And
how old are you?
29.
Oh, you're an old man.
Yeah, I'm old as fuck. I know, man. It's. I don't look old, luckily, because I sat a lot. I played a lot of poker on the internet, so I just sat inside in San Diego and went to the pool all day, so I don't actually look that old. But
Good to take care of yourself.
I don't know if I was taking care of myself.
Okay, well then you
I just didn't drink. I didn't really do drugs when I was younger, so it was just like I don't know. I maintain like a youthful young appearance, and I'm pretty active. I play basketball every day, and I work out pretty often. So I guess that probably helps you maintain a youthful look. I mean, you still look pretty youthful too. But you have the beard; it kind of makes you look a bit older. But
if I shave, I look really baby faced.
yeah, are you a tall guy? Are you a short guy? How tall are you?
I'm 5'6".
Oh, okay, you're shortest
So I'm
person.
small. Yeah, I know.
You're the shortest person we've had in a while. We keep getting these Scandy guys on. They're fucking like 6'8", 6'6", 6'5".
Yeah, I know it's rough playing against him.
Man.
Guy just towers over you.
Well, luckily you're sitting down, so you don't really you can't be too much of a Okay, I'll ask this question. Fuck one, marry one, kill one. Liv Boree, Vanessa Selps, my poker crush, and Lauren Plain.
I'm going to abstain from this game. Liv and Vanessa are both good friends of mine, and I like Lauren too. I mean, I'm just going to abstain. I'm sorry. I like the question, but
okay, I'll take a shot at this question.
I will say though, actually, you know what? If I was going to marry one, I might just have to pick Vanessa. Whenever we're in the same city, we just dominate sushi together, and I think a good love of sushi is really the foundation for any good relationship.
Do you have that in your like dating profiles, or when you meet a woman, you're like, I got to tell you about my sushi and how I love it, and I hope you like it. If you don't like it, there might be.
Maybe. Yeah, that's what happens.
Okay. Fuck one, marry one, kill one.
It's mean to kill someone, you know.
I know who
I'm trying to be a nice person.
I know what I would choose in those three. Marry
I can guess.
Dude, I want to. Can you guess? Guess to see if you can predict who you think I would pick out of those three.
Well, I imagine you're gonna fuck Liv Boree.
False.
You would marry Liv Boree.
No, false.
What?
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. I mean, I know LK. Lauren's been on a podcast of mine. I know.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
I've known her.
She was associated with the podcast. I thought she was just like some tournament person you didn't know.
Oh no, I've known her for a couple years. Yeah. But I would marry Vanessa Selps because then we could talk about reverse blockers, which are a very popular thing in my life, and she seems to be a very aggressive player of reverse blockers because, I mean, she just enjoys bluffing with reverse blockers. And also, we could talk poker, we could talk aggression, we could talk hairstyles, we could talk. I mean, I feel like we'd have some fucking conversations, man. Vanessa Selps, I'm in. I'm marrying her. LK.
I'm a big Vanessa fan.
Me too. I don't care, man. I'm in. I told her. I said on Twitter a couple weeks ago. I was like, man, Vanessa Selps is my crush. My old crush used to be Annette 15, Annette Oberstadt, because I thought she was also aggressive and I thought she played PLO, but I don't know if she exists in poker anymore. So she's currently.
She plays every so often.
Yeah, she's currently can't be my crush, but yeah. See, sir, we got it right. Marry Vanessa, kill Liv, and fuck. Okay, that's it. I'm in. I'm all in. Am I crazy?
All right.
I'm not crazy, man. Vanessa Selps, man, she's a. Where can you meet a super aggro girl who plays poker?
Who in her downtime happen to go to law school, one of the best countries in the country, colleges in the country.
And she debatably knows how to play PLO. I mean, that's like a winning for me. My perfect kind of woman. For you, your perfect kind of woman would like sushi maybe. Would maybe be good at tournaments. Would also enjoy raging. Would potentially enjoy.
I don't want to date. I mean, I'm not like totally opposed to the idea, but a girl. Actually, I would prefer not to date like a girl in poker.
What if she was really good?
I
know. I'm not going to say anything else about that. What if she was really good?
I guess that like I could imagine a situation, but I don't know. Like I don't want to be like I don't know. I imagine it could be like a turnoff. Like you just have sex, and then like she's like, "Hey, listen to this like 20 big blind reshove I made today." Like, come on.
Listen to this. What kind of conversations are you fucking having? I mean, you don't have to have these conversations with this girl in poker.
Well, I don't know. I've never dated someone in poker, but I would think that's what it's like. Maybe I'm wrong.
Unconfirmed. I can confirm it's not like that.
Okay.
But maybe if she's a really good tournament player, she's always thinking about poker. So yeah, I don't know.
I have a quick question I wanted to end. People were asking how big the game I was playing in Monaco was. It started at 1K, 2K euro, and then we put on a straddle and then a double straddle.
What kind of was this a no limit game?
This was no limit.
That's like 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 60,000 USD or something like that, or 10, 20, 40, 80. 1K euro equals like 10,000 USD, I'm pretty sure these days. So.
1.3, but you're close.
No, I don't believe that. And US dollars equals 0.20 euro. Oh, I just did the conversion myself. So
okay.
I've been running some conversion simulations and figuring out proper GTO right now. So
yep.
It's okay. We love GTO around here. We love talking about GTO around here. I don't know if you talk about GTO.
Oh, I'm venturing back into like the field player like aspect, but there's a period of time I was a big game theory nerd, and like I tried to be as like robotic as possible while I played.
Especially if you talk to Ike and Lafort, who I know are pretty big. I think they're pretty big into the GTO type of thing. So
yeah,
I know Ike is. He apparently thought Yaaarny wasn't going to win and ran some GTO on that, and now of course he's like 40 plus K richer. So fucking Ike, man. Ike, if I make a prop bet, which I'm going to do a prop bet soon, and Ike takes action against me, I'm not doing the bet. I'm quitting. I'm not doing the prop bet. If Ike's betting against me,
he's a sharp guy.
There's got to be a reason Ike's betting against you. If Ike goes, I'll take all action. I'm out. I'm not going to bet against you. I can't do it.
Ike told me during the bet that he was like regretting his side, like
because it was going well.
Well, yeah, and also just like the games were just softer than he would have thought. Like some of the games he was playing in were incredible games, like those deep 10-20 games.
They start off good, but towards the end of the session, when it ends up being all like the biggest winning 10-20 players, it's definitely not the softest spots. But towards the beginning of the sessions, when the people who initially sat down started playing, it's definitely they weren't like super hard what you'd expect the 10-20 deep lineups to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it was. I mean, yeah, Yaaarny handled it pretty wrong. So, oh yeah, we're big into receipts. You know about showing receipts? You're familiar with that term?
I am not familiar with that term.
Okay, so it's when you probably experience this a lot. When you go out, when you meet someone and they're like, and they say they had a lot of money or that they make a lot of money, or especially in poker when they say, oh, I'm a winning poker player, or I'm this, I'm that. We always ask around here, we want to see the receipts. If you tell me you're a winning poker player, you better show me the fucking receipts. If you're playing, if you play this or you play that, we like to see receipts. The other day, someone came into the PLO thread and they said they made $2 million in poker after 2009. Well, obviously, we want to see some receipts. You can't just make that claim and not back it up with some proof. So
yeah.
So I'm sure you probably get that a lot in poker, where you meet a lot of people and they are hyping themselves up to be some type of thing or some type of way. And
it actually it never happens.
Really, never.
I mean, I'm like pretty selective about like who I hang out with, and if someone's just trying to like big time me all the time.
What about random people? I'm not more so people in your circle, because then you can kind of check them, pretty easily, and they're not going to get out of line too much on their comments. But people that you kind of meet in like a social-ish setting or a poker-ish setting that start making claims like that.
I don't think it really happens. At least it's not my experience.
That's good. We seem to get that around here a lot. I don't know why. But we like when people show receipts, man. You tell us you're a winning poker player. We want to see some receipts. Most overrated. Oh yeah, someone asked, what are your top 3 tournament players? Which I was curious about. Who do you think the best tournament players are right now? Obviously,
are we talking live or online?
Let's do online and then let's do live as well.
Okay. Well, I don't want to like be pompous or whatever, but I'm gonna throw myself into the ring for both.
Okay.
Let's
put yourself out of this one. Let's assume that you're debatably the #1 tournament player online and live in the world. Let's go for 2, 3, and 4 spots. Who do we got there?
I'm also biased because like I'm gonna be inclined to like think my friends are really good, I think like Ike Haxton is just like one of the best no limit players of all time. Like heads up, six max, he's play nine man. Like I think he knows how to play tournaments like quite well. I think he's not as good as exploiting like the weaker players as some of the top tournament guys. But I think he is just great at any form of no limit. I'm pulling up like GPI just as like to see some names.
Mm-hmm. Daniel Negreanu, is he in there?
I love Daniel, and I think some fish don't play so well against him, but I don't think he is one of like the top handful of players. And also, it's just one of those things. He's just so wealthy that he just sometimes doesn't care, you know?
Hmm.
He's like,
You never know how wealthy somebody is really in poker, especially him. I mean, he's like kind of the face.
he's been around for so long, and like he got second in the one drop, and he had like a fat piece of himself. He's like been PokerStar's big guy for quite a while.
Do people like that make a lot of money in terms of outside of immediate sponsorship with PokerStars? Do they make a lot of money in appearances or sponsorship for other things or advertising for?
I'm gonna say that this is just speculation. I have no idea what his deal is. For the most part, people don't make a lot of money. But of people making money, like Negreanu might be like the biggest name in poker right now.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of like, people getting a sponsorship deal.
Definitely number two, by the way. No, it's not true. Number one most popular player in the world, poker player in the world, obviously Dan Bilzerian, number one, but number two.
Maybe maybe Ivy like is up there in terms of like marketability.
I think Dan Bilzerian's number one most popular poker player in the world right now.
Yeah, I've had quite a few like non-poker friends be like, "Hey, you know this Bilzerian guy?"
That's what I'm saying. He's the number one player. I'm gonna make a video about Dan Bilzerian actually shortly, but he's definitely a popular poker player. Even if he doesn't play poker, even if he may have never been a poker player at all or didn't make any money at poker, he's probably the most popular poker player in the world right now. Outside of him, it's interesting. I think Daniel Negreanu is probably outside of him. I think Daniel Negreanu might be the most popular, or Doyle Brunson, or Phil Ivey, or.
I think there was a period of time where like Tom was like up there in that discussion.
I was gonna say Durs probably was most popular at some point.
He's been like out of the spotlight for quite a while now, like mostly playing these Macau games and whatever. But I think there was a period of time he was up there in that discussion.
Yeah. Well, also he kind of fell out of favor. He was, like a golden child for a while, and then with the Jungle Man situation, he kind of fell out of respect or whatever the word I'm looking for is with people that played poker as well. So he might be popular, but he's certainly not as liked as he once was.
Yeah.
When it comes to that kind of thing. Get Dan Bilzerian on a podcast. Yeah, I don't know if that'll happen, guys. I just don't think I think he might be a little bit more too popular for my current. He's like Howard Stern podcast. I think Ike did the Joe Rogan podcast too.
Did you watch that?
I watched a bit of it. Yeah, I watched most of it. Yeah, obviously because I like poker and I was interested to see what Ike had to say. So
I thought that was an awesome one.
Yeah, I think the feedback overall was pretty good from actual poker players. From what I noticed, some of the people that posted about that particular podcast in the News Views Gossip, like the non-poker professionals, they said that they didn't necessarily like it, but I think most people.
I thought he did a great job of like answering like the newbie questions that Rogan asked, And
that's why I think that people who actually were pretty well versed about poker, they understood that he did a pretty good job, but. From like an outsider's perspective, for the recreational guys who just wanted to hear like baller shit or they wanted to hear more glamour type stuff, I think they might have been a bit disappointed from that front on there. So, but I thought he did a pretty good job on there.
Yeah,
I really enjoy that. Do you ever get approached to go on anything like that? I mean, yeah. Do you ever get like opportunities to do stuff like that, whether it's video or
nothing
audio?
Ever as big as like the Rogan podcast, but I got like some opportunities to do some like big social media stuff. Actually, before Black Friday, me, Tony Dunst, Mike Watson, and Mike McDonald were pitching a reality TV show to MTV. That was like an opportunity to like have a go into that world, but Black Friday just kind of shut the door on us really quickly.
And then never to potentially happen again, huh?
No, and it's like I mean, also it's the idea like any of like the sponsorship money would have been gone, and also MTV just was like, well, honestly, we love you guys. We think it's an interesting concept. 60% of our viewership are women, and we have no reason to think they're going to want to watch you. Like, we think guys are going to like your show, but they thought women would not be as into us.
Maybe you should have told him LaForte was going to be on there with his shirt off, and then they might have.
Obviously, if we had LaForte on with his shirt off, we'd be chilling.
Every time I talk to a female poker player now, I'm like, "Yeah, I met my friend Sean LaForte. I think you like him." I try to hook. I mean, I don't think LaForte needs it, but I try to hook him up with any girl I meet. Like I know a guy you might like. His name's LaForte. Sean LaForte. He's like the most. Man, I feel like we're talking about LaForte too much on here. People are gonna start thinking that.
Thinking what?
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe think I got a crush on him. Maybe you got a crush. Who knows? Maybe they might think some weird shit's going on. You know what I mean?
Let them think. Fuck them.
You guys can speculate. Well, luckily people tune in enough here to know that there might be some women that make appearances in the background here from time to time. So, Dan, in your opinion, who's the most overrated poker player?
That
Alibaba.
I'm tempted to say Helmuth. Like,
that's a pretty easy answer though.
And like I think he is actually pretty good at live tournaments. He's good at like the live aspect. But if you put him at like a 2-5 Zoom online table, he would just get completely slaughtered, And like he talks like he's the best in the world, and like sure, being good, having like good live reads, and the fact that like recreational players play so bad against him, like unbelievably bad. But if you would just get completely destroyed at like 2-4 no limit, you're just not an elite player, Like,
but that's kind of what his shtick is, what his appeal is, what he thinks his brand is. He needs to talk about, like, he probably feels like at this point he has to say all these things, especially when the cameras are around, because that's what he's known as, and that's what he seemed to be. He's gotten popular acting that way, so.
By the way, I don't think it's an act. I think he's like an emotional I used to think it was a shtick for the cameras, and I've gotten to know him a bit over the years. I think he's just like very emotional, and like, well, even like I played with him like day 2 of the World Series this year. I like get binked on, and like I'm just like smiling about it, and he's like, "How are you taking this beat like so well?" I would be like losing my shit, and I'm like, "You've been a professional for like 10 years. Like pull it together, Like sometimes you're gonna get all in it, and you're gonna lose. Just deal with it."
It sounds like you have the mental game down much better than Bill Hellmuth has the mental game now. So.
I'd like to think so.
So you don't think that's an act when he like explodes on these people? You think this is like that's genuinely how he just a fucking kind of asshole? I mean,
I think he's maybe playing it up for the camera a little bit, but no, I think it's just kind of his personality, and it's like something he's like trying to work on. He doesn't want to be like he's like embarrassed about the fact that he's like berating fish,
Fun players. We call them fun players.
I like that.
Fun player, not fish. Fun players. They're fun.
But there are some great players who are also fun players. Just like fun to play with.
I agree, like Yaaarny, fun player. Yaaarny's a very fun player. He's very fun. Yeah, a lot of fun players out there. I can't say his name. Yaaarny5 says, "Can you thank Dan for giving me back my hat at the Stars party in Barcelona? Somebody stole it, I guess.
Well,
private part of the party where all the poker ballers were at, but he gave it back."
I don't remember this little incident. My brain was a little fuzzy this night. But you're welcome. I hope the hat's making you happy.
Nice of you, man. Nice fucking guy, Dan Smith over here. Good guy, Dan Smith. Giving back people's hats, man. I can appreciate that. So we'll talk some specific MTT things. What would you tell MTTers right now that are at this whatever the low stakes, micro stakes level of tournament world is? What would you tell these guys that they should maybe focus on if they ever want to reach the upper echelon of the tournament world?
I mean, realize how much hard work it is and how many hours you have to log and how many hands you have to play and study. You want to be thinking about poker in the right way. And I just think starting with like good fundamentals, like I'll see like guys who've been playing MTTs professionally for many years now, and they'll just make like a fundamental error where they'll make like a rejam that's just like inexcusably terrible, Like there's some room for style in poker, but there's also just some spots where like math is going to dictate what's right and what's wrong. You want to be like sharp, like you just want to be solid and playing well. I also think the fact that I have played a lot of cash games and like last year when I was gearing up for one drop, I played a lot of 2-5 zoom to just like stay sharp at like my 100 big blind no limit. It's just great practice. Like you have to be able to play with like not you can't just be like a 20 big blind master. You have to be willing to like be splashing around when you're starting off like 200-300 bets deep.
That's good advice.
All right.
I'm not going to ask that question. I have it written down, but I'm not going to ask that one. Do you think that being active in a community like 2+2 or Pocket Fives is important for people out there to kind of build up their network of friends, and potentially they can get better with these people, they can talk strategy with these people? And do you think that's something that's important for a poker player, or do you think that it might not be that important, that it actually you could just get good kind of independently for the most part?
I think having friends to share hands, ideas, theories, reads, yada yada, is really important. And I think I attribute a lot of my success to some of the friendships I've made. And like 2+2 just used to be a much better resource. Now like I'll look in like people just aren't sharing like strategy gems anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But like back in like 2006, 2007, you post a question, if it's like a well thought out question and like you give it some thought, some of the best in the world would give you like their feedback for free, and that just doesn't happen anymore. I think having friends that you're a similar level with is really important, and like I have a Skype group where I talk poker with these people like every day, and I think it's like hugely beneficial for whatever your skill level. And just the one thing I would say is, even if you have someone who's a little bit better than you, you want to make sure that like you can't just take everything someone says as gospel. Like you want to be out there thinking on your own, and like you don't want to just be like a puppet. You want to be out there like thinking for your own.
Do you feel like when you sometimes talk to people that you might find maybe higher level in some type of way, that you find it hard, that it's hard to kind of put yourself out there where you are thinking like your own, because you feel like your opinion or your word just may not, you're questioning it in this particular instance, and you find yourself more reserved and
I don't want to sound cocky, but when I speak no limit with anyone, that just doesn't happen.
Okay, so what about other things? So let's say you take a subject where you might be semi-knowledgeable about it, but you know that when you end up having a conversation with somebody that you feel like you're out of your element a bit. Like, how do you approach those?
Honestly, if like two experts are talking about something and something I don't know that much about, for the most part, I'll stay out of the way. If they're like buddies of mine, I'll be happy to like interject and like have them school me. But I think like sometimes with like when someone's just like willing to sit there and be quiet, that's like a good thing sometimes. Not that someone who doesn't feel the need to like fill the noise or like give their 2 cents when they're clearly outclassed on a subject.
I would agree with that. I've always looked at it from the standpoint where I'll talk about some stuff I know, but if I don't know stuff, I'll either listen or I'll ask questions, and I try not to really feel, because some people feel embarrassed or they feel bad about themselves if they're talking with somebody about a subject and they're not as they're not as well versed, they don't know as much, and some people look at that in like a negative way about themselves, whereas I kind of try to look at it in like a positive way, that I can learn more about that subject, learn more about myself, or learn more about the person who's kind of explaining whatever the thing is we're talking about. So, like Lafort, for instance, when I talk to Lafort about working out, I don't know. Lafort knows slightly more than me about working out, so I try to take in as much knowledge as I can without feeling like too big of a donk. And yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Whenever you really get to talk or like experience someone who's truly an expert at their craft, I think that's just like one of my favorite things. It's just like one, you get to see something that they're like really passionate about, and like they know the ins and the outs and like every trick. And it's just I don't know, you can like feel a great vibe. It's cool.
But what would you say outside of poker? What do you have any other passions? Do you have something that you really feel like when you deeply about, like that you kind of
honestly for many years poker's been like far and away my biggest thing.
Mhm.
That's why I'm like taking some time off to like focus on some other aspects of my life. But like I have interests and like other things, but poker has just been for like the amount of hours I spent on poker compared to like everything else, like nothing even comes close.
What do you think those potential interests are that you have that you'd like to kind of focus on doing more? I know you mentioned some yoga. I know you mentioned some working out.
Um,
Is there anything else that you're kind of thinking could develop into a passion potentially?
Another like thing along those same lines, I started meditating in the beginning of this year, and I just think I'm like thinking more sharply and like I'm a more like positive person. I think like at someday I would like to open like a bar and a restaurant. Like I love food. I think it would be awesome. I think it like I know it's a really tough business to get into and it's expensive and all that, but someday I think that would be like a great goal and like something to commit a bunch of hours to.
I think when it comes to something like that, the bar and restaurant, if it's something if you'd really enjoy doing that, and obviously you want to make some money, you want to make a lot of money, but at the same time, if you can have a great experience doing it and learn about yourself, learn about the business along the way, and potentially have some success at it, it's almost worth it just to do it and not necessarily worry about, making it a super good monetary investment type of thing.
Yeah.
So
And with whatever you're doing, if it doesn't feel like work, you're gonna put in all the hours. Like think about how many hours like you've put into poker. Like
very,
it's
very,
really a crazy amount.
a very, very large amount of hours for sure.
And if it's felt like a job, I just wouldn't have ever made it. But like through periods of, I would just like wake up, play poker, study poker, talk about poker, go to sleep, do it again the next day.
I almost think that's how I think I got really good at poker was I was 100% poker. I thought about poker 24/7. If I was ever with a girl, I thought about poker. When I was with friends, I only was talking about poker with my friends. Like that was, and I think in a way it's semi unhealthy to only have that, but at the same time, I think to get really elite at the game, you almost, I'm sure there are some exceptions out there, but I think for the most part, you kind of have to be obsessed to the point of like semi unhealthiness to get truly great.
I can't think of anyone who's gotten to be world class that hasn't had that trait. When people like ask me about like my current goals in poker,
Mhm.
like the thought has crossed my mind to like really study mixed games deeply and like try to become the guy like maybe just become like the best mixed game player in the world playing the biggest games. Like I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I think about it. It would
No.
be like another 10,000 hours minimum. Like it would be a lot of work. Um, and I'm
So,
like
so
you only
what's the
like
starting working at that? What's holding you back?
okay.
Where
Well, I'm glad you asked.
okay.
Um,
Follow-up question.
you only get to like you only have one life, you know, and I've commit so much to poker and I feel like I have gotten a lot out of it. Maybe I'm like ready to like commit time to like a new thing, you know, like
For sure.
I don't know how much happier I would be if I did accomplish becoming one of the best mixed games players. And it's just unlike
So, well, one of the ideas that we just talked about was to get really truly great at something. It's almost like you have to be obsessed with it, 100% all in on it. So now, when you find yourself doing other things, do you ever feel like you can't really get that good at it or can't get that into it if you're not putting your 100% all into it? Like, because for instance, like when I've been dancing a lot because I want to get better at dancing, but I know that I can get okay at dancing, but I feel like in a way I'm kind of cheating myself by not, because I know how great I could get at it, but it's really hard for me to take my mind off poker and put it into this thing, and I think it kind of hinders my development in other things outside of poker. Do you find you have that type of same thing happen with you with when you try to get better at other things or learn other things?
I find it very frustrating to not be very good at something, and I have to like commit a tons of it, like a bunch of hours to it. That's one of the things I like about yoga. It's nice to do something that's like entirely non-competitive, and you're just doing it just to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I guess in yoga, to get better at it, it's just more about becoming more flexible or just doing the wackier positions or
like becoming more like in the moment or aware or whatever you want to call it.
then like or whatever people the yogis have yoga terms.
Yeah.
So do you feel that that feeling right there actually ends up holding you back from maybe trying something new or trying to learn a new skill or develop a new hobby or a passion or
I don't
anything?
think it holds me back. I think it means I'm like selective in what I jump into, but then when I have something, I jump in with both feet.
Hmm.
I was actually like taking guitar lessons up until Black Friday, and it was something I was really enjoying. I was doing it for like 6 months. Black Friday happens. I was like devastated, and I had a guitar lesson that day. Um, I like my teacher. I go to his house, and he's like, "Oh, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Actually, terrible." And I
Okay.
explained to him what happened, and he's like, "You know what? It's probably a good thing. Poker's bad for America." And
Wow.
I just like immediately fired him on the spot, and I haven't played guitar since. I was just like raging.
Wow. I mean, somebody told me that Black Friday happened. I was living in San Diego at that time. Where were you living at that time? Were you living in somewhere
Vegas.
sweet? Vegas?
Yeah.
I was like sad. I was like, I'm gonna have to leave San Diego. This is fucking miserable. I'm sad. I mean, in the end, it actually turned out to be a great thing. I mean, I think it's kind of all about your situation. It turns out as good as you make it. You can embrace any situation you're in. It's just a matter of having that mindset to be able
It
to.
ended up being like a great thing for my life. I ended up taking poker much more seriously, and like even 6 months later, my results like I started studying way harder. And actually, Ben 86, I moved to Toronto. Ben 86 was at my house. He was a little bit drunk. He
And
was like asking me about like a tournament situation, and like I explained that like he's like, oh, what would your range be like here? And I'm like, oh, I gave some wishy-washy answer like depends on game flow and this and that. And he just looks at me, he's like, that's fucking stupid. Like you should have like math backing you up. And I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I've been playing for years. And I'm not to say there's like the psychological aspect is a very real part of the game and like game flow and all this and that. But you should have like baseline like ranges down. And like from that point, like I was remember studying really hard and like my results skyrocketed and like I started like doing much more of the live circuit, which has obviously been a good change in my life.
mm, so you kind of look at Black Friday in retrospect as a great. I look at it as like a great thing. It not only got me to live outside the country, it got me to travel the world. I mean, I don't know if you were probably traveling tournaments before that, but I think helped me work harder. It helped me motivate me to get better at poker because you kind of had to be to make it. You kind of have to be. You have to get better. Like that's how you have sustained success. So
Yeah, and it made it clear that like if I was gonna do it, I would have to like give it my all. Um, like there's a lot of disadvantages to being like if you're a professional poker player, you know, and to make it worth work, you really have to like be crushing.
so you think you attribute a lot of your recent success. Obviously, you've been doing really great. How much in tournaments everyone talks about the variance is huge. How much do you attest to running really well, or maybe potentially being on a heater, and how much do you attest to your skill at the game?
Obviously, I've been running great. My results have just been ridiculous. I don't know how to like I can't quantify it, you know.
I wish there was a
I
way.
will just say I think I am like good. Like every time I play like a bit like high stakes, I bring my A game, and I think that is worth a lot. And you see a lot of people who just like punch it off sometimes.
For
And I'm
sure.
not to say like I don't ever like bluff off my chips, but like I am quite good about not having regrets about hands I could have played differently.
Hmm. So you mentioned people bluffing off their chips, and I guess that makes me think of the whole entire marketplace in tournaments, all this staking and markup, and people not even really having their own money and being professional, call themselves professional poker players. I mean, it sounds like you're kind of out of that world now, but it also sounds like you do stake some people. How like how many people are actually playing these tournaments for a living but don't have, what I mean, but they don't actually they're just in makeup or they don't actually have their own money.
What do you mean by these tournaments?
I guess that would be
There's
considered
so many different like
yeah, the
tournaments
5K,
to be
10Ks.
playing.
I guess would that be considered kind of what I'm thinking about? Because I guess 5K, 10Ks, yeah. Do you find that's a common thing? Is that a lot of people just don't have. I mean, they kind of make it from tournament to tournament, and they're kind of in markup, and they just kind of get by for the most part.
Um, I think doing a tournament to tournament isn't like the worst idea. Like I have a friend who used to be staked for online and live tournaments. He'd play. He was like a massive grinder. He'd play like the three rebuy, and like his results online were sick because he would play so many tournaments, such high volume, and he'd play every range of burnt tournaments. He's just going to win. It's just gonna happen. And then he would play these live tournaments at 10K, and he'd be like giving up his profits from like the online grind, and he'd just be like sharing it with him. And I think he'd have been better off just focusing online until he had the money to like own roll his own tournaments.
Do you think that's possible? Someone said, a couple people said that they don't think that's possible to actually build up online and then become semi-rolled or sell maybe a small percentage of their action for these 5K, 10K lives. Do you think
I
it's
mean,
possible?
look at some of the best players. Like, there are a lot of guys who've made like over $500,000 at like online tournaments.
Mm-hmm.
If you would like been proportionately bankrolled for tournaments along the way, and I mean, what usually happens is when someone wins a tournament, they're deep in makeup, they only get a piece of it, and like the distribution of results and variance is sick. But like, if you're going to be a professional tournament player, you have to be playing like the right tournaments with the right pieces of yourself and like managing your bankroll properly. It's just like an important thing.
You think enough is that type of strategy, that type of approach, is that out there in the world for tournament players to find, or is it something you kind of is it not like I mean, is it something that's obvious but people just don't do it? Because I feel like a lot of people don't do that. They want to play the 10Ks. They want the potential glory or they want to feel like they're in the circle of poker or something like that type of thing.
Um, I can't think of any like good resources for like bankroll management, but
Mm-hmm.
I mean, also given I've been doing it for so long, I feel like I kind of like knows the ins and outs.
Yeah, that's why I think, once you get to a certain level, you kind of neglect these factors that a lot of people coming up now might not think about or might not realize that are really important for their overall growth in poker.
Um, I think not even just as a tournament player, like playing the right games and having the right piece of yourself and like whatever, I think is like a very important skill as a poker player. By the way, as this fits in, Maz Lalo asked if I had a 50K roll and was winning at 500 Zoom at the start of the year, what advice would I give to make the most cash? Seems like getting Supernova Elite for you would be pretty great. I would guess it's something like I have some friends who are talking about this exact thing. I'd guess it's like 4 hours a day, maybe 3 hours a day. Just put in the volume. I
Sounds
think
easy.
Supernova Elite's worth like 100K. Just
Sounds
do it.
easy, guys, doesn't it? 4 hours a day. It sounds easy, right?
Um, if
This
you have $50,000 and you're a professional poker player, I think committing. I don't know the person's life situation, but if I was in that situation, I would just get it done. You know?
obviously I got Super Bowl a couple of times, so I agree with that mindset. But you meet so many people that say that same thing, even in the forums or you talk to them personally, and they say, "Well, it's only 4 hours a day. I can do this." And what people don't realize is that you can't. It's 4 hours, 365 days, right? Well, when you miss one day, you got a family going, or you go on hang out with a girl, so you can't play that day. You hang out with the girl that weekend. Well, now you got to make up those hours. And I think a lot of people fail to realize just how much work it is when you're running bad. You got to play 4 hours. When you're breaking up with your girlfriend, you got to play 4 fucking hours. And a lot of people just, I mean, it sounds so easy to always. I used to recommend Supernova Elite. I'm like, why don't you see Supernova Elite? But then when you actually see the people in the trenches and see them people dealing with the adversity, they
While
just
I agree with you, if you're a professional poker player, you can go from like in a year if you like fully devoted to yourself, you're a winner in those games. You can go from a 50K bankroll to a 300K bankroll, and that just like
I agree.
I mean that's a lot of fucking money, you know. Um, I think it just like committing yourself to like your craft for a year and being like the best you could be is like an important thing.
Yeah, is Luke? I think Luke might be trolling here. He said, "I like Dan, great guest, but to say he's." I think Luke might be trolling. I know Luke. I think he's trolling, but he says, "But to say he is elite at NL is a bit of a joke when he isn't winning at 500 Zoom or plays any online cash, and kind of disrespectful to us guys."
Um, okay, I was about to go pee, but I will say if you want to book me at like any no limit on the internet, we can bet pretty big. Like I'm gonna rephrase that. The elite players are just better than me. Like I'm not gonna play like Doug at Heads Up No Limit. But if you want to like book me at 5-10 6 max, which is like not a soft game, I'll book myself for as big as you want.
Go to the bathroom now.
And on that, after like laying the smack down a little bit, I'm gonna go take a victory pee.
All right, I gotta go to the bathroom after you got. I'm drinking too much water here. Goddamn, Lafort water diet's not. If you guys want to drink like 10 of these a day, you're gonna go pee a lot, unfortunately. So it's just Maslow said he recently. I'm recently back from Malta. Played like crazy there. Made one halfway so Supernova Elite in 4.5 months. Good job, man. Keep it up. You only got 3.125 months left, so hopefully you get there. Max says, I hope you can ask him this, Joe. What kind of off the table work does he do specifically? Like if it's many just doing math for all the spots or what? Can't ask that question to anybody. I haven't podcast ever, fortunately. I apologize. What did how many hours? Oh, I'll ask from that, Raphael. Raphael, yesterday I appreciate your suggestions for the 10K heads up fantasy team. Unfortunately, didn't get done. But your guys were good. Dan, when you meet new... Oh, at Victoria, good question. Didn't Dan get knocked out of the main by the cleaner knocked out Dan? Is that true?
That is true.
Oh, the fucking cleaner.
I raised hijack.
Cleaner.
He 3-bet small blind. I had ace king suited. I went like 2.2x. He 3-bets a regular amount. I 4-bet. With like I started the hand with maybe 40, 43 big blinds. He tanks for like at least 5 minutes, like staring at me. I wonder if he like thinks he picked up a tell or something, and then he 5-bet rips 2 4s. I call with ace king suited, and I lose the flip, and then afterwards I end up seeing a number that was worth like 2.4 million in like ICM, and then you consider like skill edge and whatever. Like it was fucking a lot of money.
Fucking cleaner runs so good. The mean cleaner battled a very large amount of hours on the internet and PLO. And I said one time I wanted to punch the cleaner in the face, and the Dutch community enjoyed that comment because, yeah, that was fun. But the cleaner, man, God, he runs so good. Motherfucker, man.
I'm gonna go back to this Luke character who's talking shit.
Hold on, let me go back and see. Hold on. NENL snap call. Oh,
like you know what? Like the handful of like guys who play 6-max, as of right now, they are just strictly better than me. But you know, I just don't think like the best no limit players are making that much money that it would be like a fantastic like project for me to like go down and like try to go from like better than them, but like to like play like 25-50 like 25-50 no limit doesn't run a ton. Like
true.
Like I don't know if you were to pull up the lobby, I would guess it's like fairly dead right now. But like if you think these guys are just better at all forms no limit than me, if like you ever wanted to like book them against me in tournaments, like no limit, like we could talk.
All right, I gotta go to the bathroom now, so I'm gonna give you one more question. Stupid Alien says, talk about the Bellagio high roller you chopped with Jason Somerville.
Okay, that was actually like pretty awesome timing. It was like a week before one drop. There was a 100K turbo, or it was like a medium turbo. Like I had maybe 87 entries, of which was like 70 uniques and like 17 re-entries. I was really short on the bubble. Like I was like squeaking in, and then I got a crucial double up with I actually busted my good friend Donnie Stern with like 14 left when 11 pay or something along those lines. My ace-10 beat his 8-10 when he shoves on the button. I call him the big blind. Started to run good at the final two tables, and then Doug busted in 5th, Doug Poke, and the 4 remaining players were myself, Tom Marchese, Jason Somerville, and Jason Mercier. First was 2.8 million. It was like a massive tournament. We did an ICM chop 4 ways, and I ended up getting a little bit like 2,044,000, the lion's share. So that was pretty great. And also, those guys are all like friends of mine. Like I like them all a lot. It was cool. It's like good to see your buddies do well, and the timing of it was pretty incredible. Like that like really cemented the fact that I was having like a good year, and it gave me some extra money that I could flick into the one drop. Which unfortunately that aspect of running it up didn't work out, but it was still a fun experience. And I mean, shit, winning $2 million in like 17 hours was pretty great.
Are you friends with Jason Somerville?
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Are you familiar with the stuff that he does for run it up and everything like that on that type
Yes,
of thing?
I was a guest on Run It Up after I won the Bellagio tournament, and I like him. I think he's like very good at like I don't at like the I don't is it a podcast? Is it a whatever you call it? I think he's quite good at it.
I think it's more of a of live streams in a way. I mean, what the fuck? I call these live streams podcasts. I mix it up all the time. Some are actual podcasts, some are live streams. I don't really know, but do you see that in? Because I think he's got a pretty good impact in the recreational, maybe micro stakes community of players. Do you feel like you see that impact
Um,
in poker? Like, because I think he has the stuff he's kind of doing. I think it kind of probably has a pretty good positive impact in terms of poker, but I wonder how much it actually you can see that effort being.
um, I would guess most of like a lot of Jason's fans tend to be like smaller stakes players, and I don't want to like sound elitist, but I just like I don't know him.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm just trying to, because he's got a pretty cool following, and I just wonder how much it actually translate into people playing poker or playing more poker or trying to become professionals or something like that. So I gotta have him on, man. I like his work. He's cool, man.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Yakwa says, "Hey Joey, great stream. I just jumped in, so don't know if this is discussed, but can you ask Dan his view on chess and poker as far as similarities? You mentioned you played chess. I think a couple other people mentioned chess in the chat.
Okay, I'm just gonna give like a little bit of like as a kid when I was like 6 years old, I accidentally discovered chess, started playing, and I just had a knack for it. And like for a lot of my childhood, it was like very much my main thing. Um, and then at a certain point, I was like, okay, at my peak, I think I want to say I forget if I was like 15 or 16 years old, but at one point I was the ninth best 16-year-old in the U.S. for chess. So I got to be pretty good. Then I look at like the next tier of people who were better than me, and they were just struggling to make a living, you know.
Mm.
And at this point is when I started to discover poker, and I thought like it was a new game. Like becoming very good to like ultra world class is so much work, and I just didn't think chess like getting to the next level was like a great use of time when like there were grandmasters who were literally struggling to put food on the table. I do think though those years as a chess player like taught my brain how to work in the right way to like be a successful poker player. And like people talk about like a day of tournament poker being like long and taxing. Honestly, like compared to like the long chess days, it's like a breeze in comparison. In poker, suppose like you make a mistake. You bet half pot on the river in a spot where you should have bet 2/3 pot. Your difference is going to be like a big blind on if it's like a big mistake. In chess, if you put your horse on the wrong square, you're going to lose the game, and it's like your tournament's over. I think chess is a great foundation for like learning poker, and I also think a lot of people who have who's like that part of the brain. I don't remember if it's left-brained or right-brained. I want to say right-brained, but whoever it is, I think they would tend to have success in like similar like in the other field. But also I know plenty of chess players who just like can't deal with the aspect of luck. They lose a tournament, and then I don't know that they lose a hand, and they get unlucky and they just rage. Personally, I kind of find it refreshing. You play a game of chess, and someone beats you. He is just strictly better than you and smarter than you, and you are stupid for having lost. In poker, you can go in and be like, I'm just going to play my best today and do what I can do. And sometimes you win, sometimes you don't, but you just go in and play the best you can. Now, someone just asked about Magnus Carlsen, who's the current world champion. I think he's likely to have had some success in poker. I don't know really about like what kind of. I know he's like a genius, but I don't know what kind of genius or any specifics. I think it's likely he had some success, but I doubt like just because he became world champion at chess doesn't mean he'd be as good at poker, you know? And like maybe for someone like him, the fact that when he plays a heads-up match, he only wins 57% of the time, maybe it would drive him insane.
Good. Very true. I think a lot of people ask that if so-and-so, a smart person, they just assume that a smart person or a math person or something like that could do well at poker. And I think there's a lot of other variables that go into it where You never really know. I mean, until you never really know.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Like, and even in just like there is a ton of variance in like every aspect of life. You know, like who's to say what could have been like the defining moment of like of whether or not you make it. Or like I try to think about like if other aspects of my life had been differently, like, or what if I had come into poker like 4 years later, like starting in like '06 was really like the glory time. I'd like to think that if I found it in 2009 instead, I still would have made it, but like who knows?
Yeah. Interesting. I think a lot of people say that they wish they found it in 2004 because then they feel like they'd be something.
Everyone always says like the first time you run up a bankroll though, you might just torch it, or it's also you're just gonna drive yourself crazy through like the what if game. I think people love to do it with like poker and with like women from their past, you know. And if you dwell on that, you're gonna drive yourself insane.
I agree. Just embrace your decisions. If you're with a girl, or you didn't come with her, you don't embrace it. If you want to still be with that girl, message her on Facebook and say, "What's up?" Say, "Hey, you want to hang out? You want to come visit me in this country, or can I go?" I won't get into that. I'll save that for a live stream.
I mean, sometimes I think about like hard times in my life or whatever, or like times when I ran bad or like whatever.
Very
and
rarely.
I'm like, well, but if not for like those periods, then I wouldn't be who I am today. So like maybe it's for the best.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna wrap this up since we're about 2 hours here, and let you get going to the gym. Get started with your night.
All right.
Guys,
it was fun.
I see. I told you. You said how long it's gonna be. I said you never know how long these things be. That's why before we talked like 3 hours one time. It's just easy, you know. It's like
just broing out.
That's what I'm saying. It flows easy, man. That's why people like the podcast. It's fun.
Yeah.
So guys, I just want to let you know I'm gonna be streaming PLO 6 Max tournament. It says it starts in 1 day and 17 hours. So whenever that gets close to the final table, we're gonna be streaming that, probably with some PLO guys. W Coop main event, final table. I'm gonna be streaming that as well. I'm gonna have to find a good tournament Nolan player to talk about that with. It won't be that strategic if you're looking for in-depth strategy. We're just gonna talk and have fun, hang out, and yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at JoinRoom1. Follow Dan Smith at Dan Smith. Holla. Subscribe to YouTube. You can check out, there's a Facebook group link in the description. I post all live streams and podcasts, and we'll be back next in a couple days, and we got Odd Odds and podcast coming Thursday, Greg Merson coming next Monday. That's it, man.
If I didn't get to your questions or whatever, like I see there's a lot of stuff in the chat box, if you tweet at me and it's a reasonable question, or you're looking to like bet me on some no limit or whatever, if you tweet at me, I'll get back to you.
Perfect, man. All right, Dan, man. Take it easy, man. Guys and the viewers, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate the love. Appreciate the support. And, yeah, we'll be back soon, man.
Thanks.
All right, see you, man.